Hey unicorns, sorry to do this to you, but we are actually having kind of a legitimate class today. As some of you probably know, I am a philosophy major, and I feel pretty passionately about classics, especially when it comes to the Greeks. Lately, I've been noticing just how much crap the Greeks get. We begin with my favorite, Socrates. In fact, he is so much my favorite that I have one friend who once told me to drink hemlock. So, this is what I hear a lot of. Ew, Socrates is so annoying. He's just trying to make people look stupid. Gosh. What Socrates is actually doing is poking holes in people's presumptions and showing them when they don't actually know what they profess to know. You can't just have an opinion, you have to be able to rationally defend your opinion, and he was the first to say that. Euthyphro, you don't know what the hell piety is. Alcibiades, you want to teach justice to the people who taught it to you. If people look ignorant on the way, it's because they are. I feel like we shouldn't even be worrying about this anymore. You would think that after, 3,000 years, people would have just kind of come to accept that. Next up, Plato. The only reason I like Plato at all is because he left us the Socratic dialogues, and he left us way more than Xenophon ever did. For the rest of Plato's stuff, I mean, they all involve Socrates, but when it comes to actual Platonic philosophy, I'm not such a fan. The book of his I disagree with the most is probably the most famous, and that's The Republic. The Republic says a lot of things I don't like how people should be chosen to fulfill what part in the city they would be most useful in. Like, oh, you're good at building shoes. Build shoes for the rest of your life. By the way, I don't think that happiness comes from shoemaking. I think it comes from philosophizing, but you will never get a chance to philosophize because you're too stupid to make shoes. No, that's not okay. I come from America. In America, you're like, oh, you think you might want to philosophize? Well, okay, you can do that. Oh, you think you might want to make shoes? You're more than welcome to make shoes. Fine. And that's not all that I disagree with, but that is a good example. But there are a few things that I do think that he makes a good point on, and ironically, it's his myth. The two myths that you have probably heard of the most, actually, it's probably just the one. You guys probably know the cave analogy. People say the allegory of the cave. It's not really an allegory. That doesn't make any sense, but whatever. It's an analogy about how there are these people living in this cave, and all they see are shadows, and they think the shadows are real life, but then this guy goes up and he's like, oh, hey, look, shadows aren't real life, and he tries to tell the other people, but they think he's crazy. Guess what? That crazy person is Socrates. He thinks that Socrates actually saw some truth that is greater than what we can see here, and he was killed for it. And I think that this is actually a really useful story, even if you don't agree with the concept of Platonic forms, which I don't think very many people do, but that doesn't mean that it's not valid anymore. Similarly, the myth in Book 10 of the Republic, the myth of is just beautiful and eloquent and makes this beautiful story about reincarnation, how actually you can't just habituate people into being good. They have to actually care, and they have to actually make those choices because they want to be good people, not because that's the law, which I think is a really excellent point, and that's always bothered me. Oh, do this thing because I tell you to, and it will make you a better person. No, they're just doing what they're told. That's not the same thing at all. Last, and most certainly not least, Aristotle. I don't know why I hear so much criticism of Aristotle. One of the most common things I hear, which is absolutely absurd, is, oh, he got his elements wrong. Of course he got his elements wrong. He didn't have modern science. We have modern science because of him. He looked around the world and said, these things follow a rational pattern. Maybe I should figure out what that pattern is. Maybe I should look at individual things and go, oh, gee, I can figure out how the world works by looking at the world. That makes sense. All science is based on Aristotelian ideas. Also, just read the Nicomachean Ethics. I promise you, it's good stuff. I've been accused of being a classicist before, and I guess that is kind of true. So I'm probably going to end up specializing in this kind of thing, so please just promise me you'll give them a chance. These three guys. I'm not even asking you to accept the Epicureans, who, by the way, did not believe in, oh yay, pleasure. They believed in refraining from all pleasure so that they could think, which was the ultimate pleasure. Yeah, totally the opposite of what people think. And I'm not asking you to accept the Stoics, although they are coming back into vogue. I am just saying these guys were pretty awesome, and we still talk about them today, so they must have had something right. So give them a chance, okay? Your comment homework tonight is to either leave me a misconception that drives you crazy, or something that you love that other people tend not to love. Alright, until next time, University.
Out.